or a select handful of people, get the information to them as quickly as possible so that it makes you look good when somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, did you hear there was a in the no, yeah, I've known about that for a while. Here's what's going on, the president." I mean, it's like a courtesy to not a courtesy.
It's
It's
cool.
a
It's
sign of
like, wow,
respect to you, I
Richard,
guess
beat
is
them
what I'm
all.
trying to say. All right. Let's see here. I'm good to go. But how about you, Barb?
Yep, I'm ready.
And I'll count us down in three, two, one. Hi, I'm Richard Randall, and welcome to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. This is the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Colorado's Real Estate Authority, Barb Schlinker. Barb Schlinker is a retired Navy veteran. Barb is an author. Barb Schlinker is a pilot, and Barb and her team enjoy all that Colorado and the Front Range have to offer. Barb, always great to be talking with you. I've looked forward to this. Now, we air Your Real Estate Voice every Saturday, and if you can't listen to the entire show, it is always available on Barb's site, barbhasthebuyers.com, or just go ahead and search Barb. You'll find her on most popular podcast platforms like iHeartRadio. So, Barb, what are we going to be talking about this weekend?
Well, Richard, as always, I'm excited about today's show as well. We're going to talk about, first of all, are home prices going to drop in this Colorado area due to the increase in inventory? And then the next topic is, how do buyers find the best homes in Colorado? I think a lot of people heavily rely on Zillow and Realtor.com and Homes.com. But you know what? There's a lot of homes that get sold that never hit the market. And then the third one, I'm covering this because I get a lot of questions about, well, how accurate are Zillow home values? You know, who is Zillow and what is their function? And then the last topic is, what's the best way to sell a house fast in Colorado with today's much higher inventory? And as always, I love talking about my hot new listings. Richard?
You had to step out for a second.
Okay. I'll pause. Heavy sigh.
Three, two, one. Barb, if you look online at home prices, it gives the impression that in some other areas of the country, home prices are falling. So, what are you seeing for home prices here in the Front Range of Colorado?
Well, it's pretty interesting to watch it right now, Richard, because it just seems like the real estate market has been changing very rapidly in the last couple of years. Ever since the Fed raised the interest rates substantially, in the past 3 or 4 months, the interest rates have really been very, very stable, but the demand hasn't really shifted up. And at the same time, the number of available homes is substantially increased, about 30%. So whenever there's more available homes and more choices for buyers, that opens the door for them to maybe get some concessions on prices in most cases, not all of them. And then it also opens the door for some homes to be sitting on the market. So as compared to 2 years ago, the average days on market was only 42 days. Right now it's 74. That's almost double and how much time on average is taking to get a contract. And this is such a great place to live. I mean, I don't think Colorado is as adversely impacted as some other areas of the country. Like Florida's really taken a hit right now. Part of that has to do with the hurricane and the weather scenario there. Some other parts of the country are really taking a hit financially, but not so much in Colorado. And a lot of that has to do with how beautiful it is here, how wonderful the weather is in the summertime. And so will we see prices drop with rise in inventory? Probably. What I've noticed when I sit down with home sellers and we look at historic sales, even very recent ones, if we try to price at that number, and this has been going on for about a year, it's just crickets. It doesn't work. You almost have to be a couple of percent less than that. And I will say one of the factors that's coming into play right now is the affordability. I just read a statement this morning from JP Morgan Chase that basically said the typical home buyer last year, it wasn't this year, as compared to 2019, which is only 5 or 6 years ago, indicates that they would have to spend about 48% of their income on housing. Now, that's a lot. And I will say it's not just for home buying, it's also for renting in this area. So housing is very, very expensive. And home prices really have increased substantially faster than the change in income, especially for first-time home buyers. So I see lots of graphs on that. If you're a graph nerd, it's kind of cool. The other thing that is an impact, which is kind of interesting, I found two graphs in my research today. One of them had to do with the average hourly salary. Colorado is just under $40 an hour. That's pretty good. It's almost six figures. I think California is just above that. But in order for a first-time home buyer to save money for a home, it takes 5 years, over 5 years in Colorado. The problem is if the prices continually they're slowly creeping up. If you compare last year to this year, prices are just a little bit higher than they were last year, but overall flat. And it varies a lot by season, different times of the year. Typically, the summer is prime time selling season. However, we're not seeing the exponential demand like we did even a year ago. And I think the rates haven't really changed very much. I think the big difference is more and more people have put their homes on the market, which means there's more competition for home sellers and fewer buyers to compete with. I think there was an article today in the Wall Street Journal about how the number of sales going on is pretty close, not completely, but pretty close to a record low. So in that scenario, you really, if you're a home seller, you have to position the home to be the best home on the market, but not everybody really knows how to do that. Doesn't mean it has to be remodeled. I just had one last weekend that we had on the market that really needs a lot of cosmetic work. It does, but the sellers chose to price it very, very realistically and even a little more realistically, considering the condition of the home. And as a result, in my open house, we had 63 people attend. We had 4 offers, and it sold for about 5% above asking price. Now, had we priced that high, it'd have been crickets. Nobody would have showed up. So it's just really interesting that the dynamics and psychology to get people in the door. And it's not necessarily condition. Pricing is absolutely critical. And it's really hard to look at past sales to figure out what a home is worth. It's hard to look at Zillow and all these tech companies like Realtor.com and Homes.com, because half the time they don't even know all of the features and benefits of a particular home. Many times, I had one seller talk to me yesterday, and he was saying, he was like, well, is what Zillow says about my value correct? I said, don't even worry about it. As soon as we go on the market, they will see the update and it'll be fine. But it was showing some things like not all the space was finished is what they're showing online. They're showing a much lower value than really what the market will command. So I tell them not to worry about it. It'll update as soon as we go on the market. It just has bad data. And that's very consistent with what I see on Zillow. Now, a lot of people get nervous about it. They think Zillow is the, you know, company that makes a decision about what a home is worth, but that's not true. It's the buyers that decide what a home is worth. And you can tell right away by looking at Zillow when you go on the market if you actually nailed the price. And we know how to do that. But it's kind of good to get a rough idea. Zillow definitely has a lot of eyes on their website. They're just a tech company that saw an opportunity. They saw these old antiquated MLSs and decided, hey, we can build a better mousetrap. And they did. And they are extracting money from real estate agents in order to put that better mousetrap up there. And because of the quality of the website, they grab the data either from tax records or from MLSs, put it out there as a better presentation. And that's where all the buyers go. And then they sell back the leads to real estate agents on their own listings. So that's kind of how it works. But basically, most buyers are looking for what can they get in their price range. Now, so like the one in Briargate, the story with that one, the home wasn't necessarily spectacular. However, it was in a great location. It was the lowest price home in that area. So buyers are smart enough to recognize, hey, if I can, do my own repairs and get into this home at a lower price, I'm in a location where I want to be. So sometimes it's not necessarily about condition, but pricing is absolutely critical. And it's all about affordability for buyers. So if you are thinking of making a move, that's what we help people do every single week. Right now, we have over 28,190 buyers in waiting just on my little website. Typically, I can match about 800 buyers to any home. Just call us and we will give you a free in-home consultation on what to do and what not to do to get your house ready for sale, plus go over all the closing costs when it's time. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call at 719-301-3900. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty, and you can reach Barb and her team at 719-301-3900. We're talking about whether or not home prices will continue to rise. So, Barb, will you please share with us the current market trends?
Well, what I'm seeing right now is houses are definitely selling, but they're not selling exactly at the prices. So just in my own little real estate world, I don't have all the listings, obviously. I'm seeing it's taking more time to get people in the door. It's taking more time to get offers, and there is a sweet spot in pricing. So some sellers choose to really hold their price high and wait for the buyers to come up to them. And unfortunately, right now in this market, that's just not working. The best thing to do if you want to sell in this market is to price it very realistically. And what will naturally happen is the buyers, if they like the price and they have competition, which still happens week after week in my world, the price is going to gravitate to full market value and get it sold quickly. And you won't have to wait 74 days if you do it right. But that means pricing it right. It means the marketing has to be top notch. And once you get all of those 4 P's correct, preparation, pricing, presentation, and of course, picking the right team to handle the sale, that's when the stars will align and you don't have to wait forever to get your home sold. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making the move, call Barb 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll take a short break. When we come back, how do home buyers find the best homes here in Colorado? Barb will have that for you. Yes, and only
Jay,
for you.
did you hear all those papers falling?
No. I was worried about that I was making too much noise with my papers over here.
Crash to the floor and like, oh boy, okay.
I don't know if this makes much difference, but I did see something about the Fed saying that they may lower interest rates soon because of inflation. And I don't know what in the world that would even mean when it comes to uh, the markets or whatever, but I thought I'd let you know about that.
That's good. I hope he does. But, you know, it's really, I feel sorry for first time home buyers. When you hear that half their income is spent on housing, it's not a good scenario for comfort. It takes two incomes to really make it work, it's challenging, especially in this area. So,
Well, and you know what? And I think it's really disheartening to younger people.
mhm.
Well, not just younger people. I mean, I've got friends. This person got divorced. This person is, in between jobs. This couple over there, they're going to get married fairly soon. It's a tough deal right now, almost for everybody.
Yeah, I would hate to be in California though, where the median price is 800,000. Man, that's a lot of money for probably just a really average cookie cutter home, you know.
And you can't get insurance.
Yeah, another problem.
It is amazing. I mean, California is such a big economic driver. What do they say? It's like if it were just a nation, it'd be bigger than this and this and this. And yet it's gone to hell. I mean, between the fires, between all the illegal immigration, it,
Yeah,
it's
it's too
amazing
bad.
to
Such a
anybody.
beautiful place. Really is
And
beautiful.
it's got everything. I mean, it's got beaches, big cities, deserts, mountains, skiing. I
Yeah,
mean, but
to do.
all right. Let's see. Here's number two. Okay. Mhm. I'm sorry. I got a new clock, is what I'm trying to orchestrate here, and I'm all excited about it. All right. I'll count us down in three, two, one. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner broker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, most home buyers are searching on those big national websites like Zillow, Realtor.com, and Homes.com. But is that really the best way for home buyers to find the best homes here in Colorado?
Well, the truth is there are quite a few homes that get sold before they ever go online. And so buyers really don't have any idea how to tap into that. A majority of them really search online on their phone, Zillow, homes.com, realtor.com, and they're constantly looking. What I find amazing is that because I meet with a lot of buyers when we do our open houses, and quite a few are calling me now too, and they'll tell me what their experience is or what their knowledge is about that house. And it seems to me they look pretty hard at the detail. They look at the floor plan, they look at the price, they figure out whether or not it's priced right or not. They know if it's priced right or not. And if it's not priced right, they're just not going to show up. They're not even going to take a look at it. So those are the homes that hit the market. Imagine about the homes that don't. So there's a certain segment, very small segment of home sellers that don't ever want to deal with the traditional, have the buyers come through their house and, you know, get the best offer because they kind of know what's ahead. What's ahead is a traditional home buyer is going to make a deal. Okay, they'll get a contract on a house. And the next thing that happens, they bring in Joe Billy Bob Inspector that has no training or expertise, and they start disparaging the house and putting ideas in their head and demanding really, really expensive repairs. I have one that's closed this week that basically the buyer's inspector ran a sewer scope through the sewer line and used a fisheye lens. So the actual video was almond shape. Then he convinced licensed plumbers to use that as it being valid. when the pipe was circular, not almond shaped, and claimed that the sewer line had been crushed and it needs to be repaired at a cost of $8,000 to $12,000. So when the seller brought in real plumbers and did their own sewer scope, which they charge for that, right? Two very reputable plumbers in this town said, this is fine. There's nothing wrong with this sewer line. But the buyer was so convinced, oh my God, someday I'm going to have to replace the sewer line. So it's kind of unfortunate. I'm not really a big regulation person, but I just get crazy stuff from inspectors. And some of them are good, I will admit, some of them get it right. But at the end of the day, the state does not regulate or require any kind of licensure or qualification for an inspector to do an inspection. And they absolutely have influence on whether or not the buyer is going to purchase that home. I've had them suck the wells dry. Just recently, I had one drop a seal down a sewer line and couldn't get it out. So we had to bring in a licensed plumber to solve that problem. And I made the inspector pay for it because they are responsible for any damage that they do, but that's assuming they take responsibility for the damage that they do. Not all of them will. I had one probably 3 months ago, that big fat guy that went up in the attic and he's stomping around. He stomped where he shouldn't have stomped and broke the drywall, cracked the drywall, not broke through. And of course, oh no, it was like that. I didn't do it. I'm like, God. So it has an impact as to whether or not the buyer is going to move forward. So now the seller is in another negotiating battle after they accept a contract. So that's why a lot of home sellers are like, I'm not playing in this arena. I want to go off market. I want it to be done. I want it cash. I want it over with so we can move on to our next phase in our life. I had one that actually had a bidding war, and then the buyer bailed out at the last minute, but we had 4 other offers on that property, and it never went back on the market because I went back to buyer number 2 to see if they were still interested. Unfortunately, they had not bought a house yet, and they ended up getting the house. It never went back on the market. But you have to be in the game to have those opportunities, and that's part of what we do. We help our buyers get insider access to homes that are not on the market. We even actually market for them to try to find them a house that may not be online. And at the end of the day, buying a home is a very emotional decision. It's where you spend your time, most of your time. It's a big investment for most people. It means a lot both to buyers and to sellers. And so we are basically talking about how buying a home is so important. And I think that there's some skepticism out there with home buyers when they look at Zillow and homes.com and realtor.com, that they actually think that what they're seeing there could be aged inventory. That's why they take a look at other websites. They're looking at this website and that website, and they're seeing different stuff, and they don't understand why, and they don't trust it. And I don't blame them, because not every home is available online, and not every home is available on every website. So to start with, I would say buyers need to be financially prepared. And some of them don't do that. Even this day, they tend to go look at homes, just like going to look at cars. And then they'll like, okay, I love it. How do I buy it? Right. And that could be a mistake. I had one buyer that reached out to me about one of my listings. It was a few years back, but I'll never forget it. I thought he'd be a great fit for that home, but he had not gotten financially prepared. The seller priced it aggressively. We had a huge crowd at the initial showing at the open house, and they got multiple offers. So he wasn't financially prepared. So he wasn't able to throw his hat in the ring. And you don't want to be disappointed like that. That's why it really needs to be done, because it enables you to kind of carry that negotiating stick as a buyer from a position of strength. And that's what we do for our buyers. We offer what we call a VIP home buyer service, where we give them insider access to homes that are not yet on the market, as well as help them get the best financing and the best education about the home buying process. It's easy to make a very expensive mistake in buying a home. So you want to make sure you don't do that. And we can help you do that with our combined decades of experience. So my name is Barb Schlinker. I'm the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty and the host of this show, Your Real Estate Voice. And we're talking about how buyers find the best homes. And next up, what we're going to cover is ways a home buyer can guarantee kind of front of the line access to the best homes that cannot easily be found online. And also, if you are thinking of selling, one of the things that we do for our sellers is we actually match our sellers with our database of buyers, both through our cash offer platform, as well as through our list of over 28,000 registered buyers just on my little website. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900, or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And if you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Now, Barb, what are some other things that home buyers should consider to find the best homes for sale here in Colorado?
Well, Richard, you start with figuring out what's your budget. What can you afford? What area do you want to be in? What are the home features that you must have? What are your must-haves? And what are your nice to have? Now, it is true that some buyers might say something like, okay, I got to have this and I got to have that. And then a house it might come available that maybe doesn't have all those features, but they're in love anyway, and they will still move forward with it. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that, because some of it has to do with what's available on the market at that time. Now, I think a lot of agents kind of go about it the wrong way. Typically, what happens is they are connecting with a buyer through some kind of online search, or they may know these people from just whoever they've met in the past. But they generally give buyers access to homes that they already have access to. They might pick a few homes and go look at them, or what's really changed over the years, because the photos and the technology has gotten so good, and it actually falls on the listing brokerage to really make that presentation to attract the buyers to get them to come. So it really puts the buyers in the driver's seat, because they're making a decision within seconds as to whether or not they even want to waste their time or gas money to go look at that home. And, so really most agents do not provide insider access to homes that are not on the market, because they don't know how to find them. They might, dig through expireds. A lot of agents will pester listings that have been taken off the market to see if they want to sell again. And then the other thing I find is if there's a narrow, sometimes we set up narrow showing windows solely because that is what the seller wanted to do. And that's perfectly in their right. They don't have to make the home available 24/7 anytime an agent wants to show up. In fact, just last week, I had one agent say something very snarky publicly to my seller, just because she didn't bother to read the showing instructions. She failed to understand that we had to meet her there so she could do a preview. And then she made some snarky comment that was read by the seller. It's like, come on, girl, we don't work for you. If the seller wants us to be there, we're going to be there. But if you're going to be 45 minutes late, at least call, right? You would offer that courtesy to anybody. But anyway, that's just the craziness I deal with all the time. Or they get really mad at me if there's only one opportunity to show. They want it to be available whenever they want to show, because that's more fun for them. But at the end of the day, if their buyer wants it and they want to make that money, they better show up, right? Because there may not be another opportunity to show the house. So the one I sold in Briargate last weekend, I had dozens of calls from agents. Well, I want to show it and the system won't let me show. I said, sorry. I really wanted to say, look, you're late to the party. We already had, 4 dozen people come through the house, and we've got 4 offers, and we're negotiating now. And, I'm sorry, but we can't make it available for all 40,000 agents across Denver when they finally, and Colorado Springs, when they finally get a clue that it's available. It had been on the market for everybody to see for enough time for all of the buyers to get in the door, throw their hat in the ring, but they were late to the party. And then they're calling me going, well, why can't we get in? I'm like, I'm sorry, you had your chance. So I just don't, I think they're reactive now, and they're not actually looking for the buyer. It's the buyer going, hey, open that door for me. I'm interested in that house, because the performance has changed. They're not actually going out there and saying, hey, look at this home. Maybe this would be a good one for you. Let's go check it out. Instead, they're waiting for the buyer to contact them. And for me, it's not a great way to do business. So it's really important to make sure the buyers have access to all the homes that meet their criteria, even the ones that are not online. And we make that happen. So if you're interested in becoming a VIP buyer, give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. We'll take a short break. This discussion dovetails into the next topic. When we come back, we'll be talking about how accurate is a Zillow on house value. Wait. I don't like that. When we come back, we'll be discussing how accurate is Zillow on house values. Stay tuned for that. All right.
I hope I didn't drone on too much on that one.
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, that agent called my colleague a jerk.
You are in such a, I don't know what the right term is here. Emotional, maybe. Well, it is kind of emotional, not so much I wouldn't think for necessarily the talent who's representing people, but for the people themselves. But you know what? You've got a lot of immature people who get into this business. It's not an easy business. It has to be frustrating for some of these people. They look at you and see others that are so successful. It's like, well, why am I not there? I don't know. Maybe you don't have that much experience. Maybe you don't know how to market things. Could be some pretty simple things, right?
Well, I just name calling really has no place.
Right.
And it was her that screwed up. She didn't read the instructions. And then she publicly called him a jerk because he's like, all he said was, I've been waiting for you for 45 minutes. But he's a jerk. So she turned around and left and put that feedback on the system for the seller to see. I'm like, oh, that's party foul.
So you're not supposed to be able to say that waiting 45 minutes is kind of rude?
I guess not. I guess the world circles around her.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know.
All right. I got number 3 here. And whoops, let me see. And okay. Count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. Now, Barb, a lot of people go off those automated valuations like on Zillow, for example, to determine what their home value is. How does a home seller know that their home's value on Zillow is actually accurate?
Well, in my opinion, the home values on Zillow are sometimes accurate, but I wouldn't say all the time. The problem with Zillow is that they just dominate page 1 of Google. Everybody thinks Zillow is the gold standard for real estate and real estate values and all this stuff. But the truth is, back when the market was booming, Zillow went out and they got so emboldened and thinking they were going to take over all real estate online that they started buying up homes. They started making offers. And in the course of less than 1 year, they lost $1 billion with a B, overpaying. I remember going out on appointments with sellers. And before I got there, they'd gotten an offer on Zillow and they told me how much it was. And I looked at them and said, you should take it, because I knew it was way more than what the market could command. And, it just, I don't know why they did that. I think that they were a little bit overzealous in where they thought the market was going, but they lost so much money. So are they accurate? No, their little algorithm isn't perfect. And I think they should have learned that the hard way, but they also learned that people believe the stuff that they put on there. And half the time, Zillow really doesn't know the house. They don't know all the benefits. They don't know the features. They may not know that much about the location. They don't know about views. Sometimes many times they get it wrong on the number of bedrooms and baths, the finished square footage, all these factors they really don't know. They're just averaging the price around it. And unfortunately, people believe it. So congrats on them for creating a website. However, it's not that accurate. And at the end of the day, it's not the seller, it's not Zillow, it's not the real estate agent. It's going to be the buyer that makes a decision on what the home is worth. So if you have multiple buyers vying for a home, which still to this day in my world, it happens if the seller price is right, then the seller has more choices. I just had one close yesterday that sold for $50,000 over asking price because all the stars aligned. He priced it right. Right now, the average price is in the mid fives in the Colorado Springs area. And sometimes if you look at the Zillow's estimates of the values, they could be way off. They could be way high. They could be way low. You just don't know. So I wouldn't trust it. At the end of the day, the best thing to do in this market where you have 28, 29% more inventory, so that means more competition for home sellers, you have to price the home right. I get what sellers are thinking. They want the most money, and they all think if I price it right, if I price it high, I'm going to get the most money. But because of the advent of technology, that doesn't work because the buyers won't even come see it if what they see based on the online presentation doesn't match what they perceive to be its value based on what's going on in the market right now. They won't even come look at it. So the sellers that make the mistake of pricing it too high and then slowly walking the price down, according to the National Association of Realtors, actually net less money. So it's not the best case scenario. The one that I just got under contract in Briargate, the price that it has a contract for, had it been priced at that number, nobody would have shown up. It just wouldn't have happened. And it's all about getting them into the door and getting them visualizing themselves living there and being able to improve the home if they have to, or make it theirs. And that's what these sellers did. And it was a great idea. So that's why you really can't price your home according to these automated valuations, because they really don't know what the demand is going to be. They have no idea. I've seen some of these other automated valuations like Realtor.com, even the ones that the banks use. So I just recently got licensed to be a mortgage broker. And part of the reason I did it was one of the companies that does pretty much most of the lending in the country, they're called United Wholesale Mortgage, has this really cool tool that they give me access to that will give an opinion of value, much like Realtor.com, much like Zillow. And even that one is probably a little bit high, maybe by 3 to 5% based on what I've seen. Very rarely on the values that I pull does it hit the mark exactly of where the market's going to command. So that's an indication that their valuation model is a little bit inflated as compared to what's going on in the market right now. It's all about pricing it right. And if you price it what I call realistically versus optimistically, believe it or not, that's the way you're going to net the most money. I had a home actually in that same neighborhood in Rock Rimmon 2 years ago, and it was really fun to work with him. He was a ex-Marine infantry officer, real kind of gruff guy. And he, I said, well, what's important to you? And he goes, I want the most money. I said, okay, well, pricing it for the most money is not going to get you the most money. And I'm really sure he didn't believe me, but we had similar sales between 645 and 7. I said, look, if you price right there at just under 650, that's going to get the most activity. So sure enough, that's what he did. We went on the market. We had a huge turnout. We had 6 offers. I was so proud of myself when I presented those 6 offers, because I'm like, look, it worked. And I looked at him, and I think that the highest one when I first met with him was 680. And I said, isn't this great? And he goes, no. I'm like, why not? And he goes, Barb, I told you to get me the most money. How are you going to do it? So I thought about it. I deployed one of my tactics, and it ended up selling for 20,000 more at 700. So it was pretty fun. I enjoyed it. I learned something from it, and they were really, really happy. Now, why is it that some homes have bidding wars and others don't? It's just one reason. It is pricing. If you price a home on the low side, low side right now of similar sales, it's going to work. Okay. Even below similar sales, it's going to work. But if you match similar sales, it's not going to work. And that is not the only factor. There are some other factors too. Like it could be what's currently on the market right now. What is your competition? I had a home down in Fountain a few months back, and the problem, I thought that thing would fly the first weekend. I really felt like we priced it right. But the problem was nearby, this was a home that was 25 years old, but nearby there were similar homes that did not, this one's a 2-story with a basement, but there were similar homes, 2 stories with no basement, brand new, that were their competition. And so buyers are saying, you know what, I'll just get a new house, right? So, and the other piece of that is I think the builders are really good at providing incentives, like giving them low interest rates and paying their closing costs and fries with that too, to get them in the door. So it took, instead of 7 days, it took 2 weeks to get it under contract. And in the end, they were pretty happy, and they had priced it right. But you have to look at your competition and be prepared for that whenever it happens. And some people think that pricing it low, like I had somebody ask me just the other day, he's like, well, if we price it at that price, does that mean I have to accept it? And the answer is no, you don't have to accept any offer. You could pick your buyer. There's, sometimes the seller doesn't necessarily take the highest offer for different factors. It could be the time to close. It could be maybe the financing might not go through for a buyer that made a higher offer. There's all these things to think about. And that's why you really need a professional to help you when it's time for pricing and when it's time for negotiating. And that's exactly what we do with our clients. But at the end of the day, most sellers had the most success when they price it what I call very realistically versus optimistically right now in this market. Right now, with the average days on market in the Pikes Peak region being 74 days, that's a long time. That's almost 3 months waiting to go under contract. That isn't even closing. It's another 30 days on top of that to close. So if to really shorten that time frame, you need to hire somebody that knows how to do it. And that's exactly what my team does. You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice. I'm your host, Barb Schlinker, and the broker owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And we're talking about why those automated valuations like Zillow and Realtor.com can be so drastically off. And next up, we're going to talk about pricing it right and how you can avoid missing out on the perfect buyer in the first 30 days. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call, 719-301-3900. Or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can always reach her and her team at 719-301-3900. Now, Barb, I know you and your team are home valuation experts and can help home sellers with establishing a fair price, but what are the things that make a home more valuable so that sellers can get more money when they do sell?
I get this question a lot, Richard, because people have ideas in their head about what adds value and what doesn't. As an example, some people just do an arithmetic thing where they say, well, I have this 20-year-old house and I put in fresh carpet and I put in a new furnace and I put in a new water heater. Therefore, I should add the cost of those things on top of the price. And the answer is no, not necessarily. Buyers appreciate that they don't have to take on those kind of repairs in the future. But at the end of the day, those kind of things are what I call deferred maintenance, meaning they should have been done to maintain the home. Don't expect to tack that on to the price. Some of the things that add value definitely are views. All right. Views are going to add value to any home. And if it's in good move-in ready condition, I don't care what the market's doing, typically it's going to sell as long as it's priced right. And pricing absolutely is the key. It's the way you start negotiations. You know, buyers don't know the history. They don't know that you've added stuff or improved stuff. They're looking at what they can see right now, which is, okay, this home is in great shape. I don't have to do any work. I can move right in, drop my stuff, and move on with my life. Versus this one's going to take work and money, but will I take it on? And sometimes they will if it's priced very realistically. So the condition the seller controls. And I don't recommend that. People ask me, well, why can't we just give a carpet allowance? What if they don't want to put carpet in? What if they want to put luxury vinyl or whatever? I'm saying no. If you want to attract a move in the home type buyer, which is at least 40, maybe 60% of them, don't give them a credit, because the credit's just going to go towards our closing cost. The last thing people want to do is replace flooring after they just bought a house, before they move in. So make it so they can move in, drop their stuff, and get on with their lives. Some of the things that will definitely add a value enough to make a buyer make a good offer is flooring, neutral paint, kitchens, baths, yards, curb appeal, living room, and make sure you fix deferred maintenance. A lot of people think you can add those deferred maintenance things to the cost of the house, but that doesn't work. It's about what the current market value will command for that home at this time. So if you're planning to make a move, we help people do this all the time. Give us a call at 719-301-3900 or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. You can reach Barb at 719-301-3900. We'll take a short break. When we come back, we'll be discussing the best way to sell a house fast in Colorado's higher inventory market, plus Barb's hot new listings. You don't want to miss those. Do you, punk?
Do you?
Just trying to be a little bit edgy, Barb. That's all.
Mhm.
Edge it up there a little bit.
There you
I know, right? Oh, that we could get going there a little bit.
go.
We'll start. Barb's got this new thing. Not only will she guarantee to sell your home, but she also, if the opposing, I shouldn't say, well, no, if the opposing agent is problematic, Barb's
Called
theory
you a
is
jerk.
F around and find out. Don't do it with Barb.
Don't call her a jerk.
Yeah.
Uh,
I am so
insane.
close to saying that all the time. So my producer on the show came up with mess around and find out, because that is just, it rolls off your
mess
tongue.
around or play around.
Yeah, play around. That's good
Yeah.
too. I'll alternate between
Play
the
around.
two. It
I
just,
think, I think part of the issue is they don't have a lot of sales. So this is their only sale. Like I have one negotiating with me right now that she keeps throwing out the emotion. Oh, the buyer's about to have a baby. I'm like, what does that have to do with that? Therefore, you should give them something. Yeah, I'm like, I don't think that matters here. Anyway, it's just cute. I try to let most of it roll off my back. My clients have helped me not get quite so passionate. Do you have
I'm gonna grab
2
some.
minutes? I'm going to say hi to somebody just walked in. Is that okay?
Thank you, Barb.
You okay, DJ? All right.
Yep.
I heard somebody. segment. Sorry, I'm back.
Welcome back.
The team.
All right. I'll count us down in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker. I knew that was going to happen.
Mhm.
Let me try again. All right. I'm sorry, Bob. My problem is I should be drinking water for my throat and not Red Bull, but guess what? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, the weekly radio show that informs and educates you on how to buy or sell real estate with Barb Schlinker, the owner of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Barb, a lot of people look at those automated valuations like on Zillow or their neighbor's asking price to determine what their home is worth, especially now that it's taking longer to sell a home. How does a home sell? How does a home how does a homeowner sell their home faster in this market?
Well, Richard, it's all about pricing. It's not necessarily about condition, and it definitely is presentation. So I'd say that those two P's are critical. And then where to price it is knowledge that you would get from hopefully a good real estate broker that knows how to make that happen. Depending on the condition, the competition, similar sales, there's all these factors that come into play. So in general, if you price it too high, the market's going to figure it out very quickly. I mean, within probably minutes. You'll be able to look on Zillow. Zillow will give you some clues. They'll show the number of views to the number of saves. And I have a certain metrics that I'm looking for in that. If I see more saves, that's an indication that probably the market thinks it's a good price for the home and they're going to show up. If there's very few saves on Zillow, it's going to tell me that now the market doesn't seem like that's interesting and they're probably not going to show up. So of course, most people are trying to get the most money when they sell their home, but the way I like to do it, it's kind of counterintuitive. You really need to price it what I call very realistically in order to get the most money. As an example, the one I did just last weekend, I keep talking about it in Briargate. It was pretty rough. I mean, the carpet was beige, but it had many blackened spots. You know, the wallpaper's peeling off. It's got some rotted trim. The deck looks kind of rough, but it's a good location. It's a really good price. And had we priced it for the price of the highest offer that we got, nobody would have even come out to take a look at it. Not at all. No way. In fact, I don't even think it would have appraised for a number that high. If the buyer was getting a loan, you have to have an appraisal that substantiates the home is worth the agreed upon sales price. But the seller took the best offer for them. And at the end of the day, it's all about pricing to command the most money. And they still ended up with about 8% more than their asking price. So I think buyers are pretty picky. I mean, we've got one over in the northwest side of town that's stunning, has an extra garage. And had that thing hit the market in February, it probably would have sold at that price with a bidding more. But it's a little bit different right now because there's a lot more competition on the market. And some of the things buyers are picking at, which to me, some of them don't make sense. Like I want the 5-piece palatial bath and I don't want any popcorn ceilings. They're just getting really, really picky on a home that's had a remodeled kitchen, fabulous lot, lots of garage space. So it doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, the market's going to tell you right away if you priced it right. So how are you going to be able to tell that? You can tell typically by the volume of showings. I checked on Zillow recently. Zillow owns Showing Time, which is the showing service that they absorbed last year. And basically, they will tell you the average number of showings that they're set for price range all across the board. And if you go up to 1 million, typically what we're seeing is that every week you should be getting about 6 showings. If you're not getting that many, then you're priced too high. If you're getting more than that, you're probably priced very realistically. If you're getting lots of showings and no offers, it's just a little bit too high. And if you're getting offers, you're probably right there in the sweet spot. Pretty soon, you're going to get a contract that you like. And in general, if you price it too high and slowly walk the price down, you're going to net less money. Zillow isn't the one that's going to decide what your home is sell for. It's going to be the buyers that will do it. So these automated valuations really aren't necessarily going to be the answer. So you have to price it according to its condition and its competition and all that. As an example, I sold a home a few months ago in which the kitchen was basically 1960 vintage. So how much that's 65 years old. All the appliances worked, which was really to whoever built those appliances, to their credit. It had all the things that buyers allegedly say they don't like wallpaper, and it was dated, and it had granny curtains, and it had, but it had a lot of the 50s and 60s homes have beautiful hardwood floors. So when I first went into that house, the beautiful hardwood flooring was covered with this thick sculpted carpet. And I'm like, is there any way we could pull that carpet if there's hardwood? So that's what they did. And it looks spectacular. So the seller chose to price very realistically. The home, its bones were well taken care of. It had fresh windows, updated electrical panel, updated roof, updated mechanicals, but the cosmetics were not so updated. We had the old appliances and old cabinets in the kitchen, that kind of stuff. So seller priced it right. We ended up having a huge crowd at the open house. We had multiple offers, and it ended up selling for $15,000 over asking price. So it's a sweet spot. You have to make sure you hit that right in any kind of market. You have to look at the competition. And that's part of what we did. We were looking at homes, same floor plan, that had been remodeled, that had all the nice all white kitchens with the granite counters and all that stuff. And they were selling for a higher price, as the seller chose not to price it up there because it would mean that the house would sit on the market month after month and buyers would opt for a different home. It's always best to price a home what I call realistically. In fact, right now in this market with higher inventory, it has to be very realistic. So you can look at similar sales, but I'm telling you right now, my experience tells me that is not the number. You have to drive it below that to get them in the door. And we know exactly how to do that. We look at recent sales. We compare apples to apples. That's what appraisers do. So appraisers, their job is basically to substantiate to the lender that the home is worth the agreed upon sales price and that the home meets the loan guidelines. As an example, for the government loans like FHA and VA, they're a little bit stricter, like you can't have any peeling paint, no rotted wood, no broken windows, no missing outlet covers, no missing stair rails, no safety trip hazards, those kind of things don't qualify for those kind of loans. I'm handling a couple of repos by the VA right now, and one of them that's on the market actually just got a contract, has 2 bathrooms out of the 3 that have been completely gutted down to the studs. We can't even turn on the water without water spewing out, the toilet hole. And the flooring is fractured in the basement. So because of that, that will not be approved for a traditional VA or FHA loan. However, there are rehab loans that the buyers can get where they can borrow up to $35,000 and roll it into their loan to repair the home after closing and be able to purchase those homes, hopefully at a discount as is. So there's options out there for them if whoever they're working with helps them think out of the box. So if you are thinking of making a move, that's what we help people do all the time. Decide on where to price and position their home to get the most money. It's not what you think. A lot of people think if I price it high, don't I leave room for negotiating? That's the biggest mistake, especially in a high inventory market. So if you are thinking of making a move, give us a call. That's part of what we do. We meet with home sellers and give them tips on what to do and what not to do to get their house ready for sale. We go over all the closing costs. So we show you exactly how much you'll put in your pocket when it does sell. And it's a free service. There's no cost or obligation. If you are thinking of making a move, all you have to do is give us a call at 719-301-3900 or go to barbhasthebuyers.com. Richard?
You're listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker of Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. And you can listen to replays of the show anytime on all of the major podcast platforms, plus Barb's YouTube channel, Barb Schlinker. If you're thinking of making a move, call Barb at 719-301-3900. Now, Barb, what are the other magic bullets on pricing to get your home the top dollar?
Well, actually, not every home has a bidding war. And I've had neighbors call me and go, why'd you price that home so low? And I'm not trying to hurt the neighbors, but at the end of the day, it's the seller's decision on where they're going to price their home. So some sellers decide to price their home realistically based on its condition. I just sold one in the Powers area, very popular area. The home wasn't perfect. It backed to a busy street, had nice views, but it backed to a busy street. And they were smokers, and you definitely could smell the cigarette smell in the house. So that's a turnoff for a lot of buyers. But the seller decided to price it very realistically. And so that's exactly what we did. We had over 70 people in that open house. We still ended up selling that home full price, even though it had condition issues. That's why it's so important to hire somebody that really understands how to really master the art of pricing a home. You don't have to agree with them, and you don't have to accept any offer. At the end of the day, it's the seller's decision on what offer they're going to take. And it's really, really important to price it very realistically. That's the way you get the most money. Richard?
You're listening to Barb Schlinker on Your Real Estate Voice, the show that tells you everything you need to know about real estate, buying or selling. And if you're thinking of selling and want the most amount of money, call Barb, 719-301-3900, or visit barbhasthebuyers.com. Barb, lightning round of your hot new listings.
Here we go. Well, beautiful home up in Woodland Park. It's on almost an acre with amazing views. It's a manufactured home, so it's not a beautiful new home, but it's in good shape. It's move-in ready, priced at $309. A really good deal that's basically right now, this property on Carr Avenue up in Cripple Creek is set up like a duplex. So it's been approved for an Airbnb upstairs, and you can rent out the downstairs for as much as $1,500. So if you wanted to live in the upstairs, you could get most of your mortgage payment paid. We have a beautiful home on 8230 Camfield at $454,999. Gorgeous gleaming hardwood floors, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, granite counter, stainless steel appliances, backs to open space. Great, great home. We have a fabulous home on Tower Road. So this home, they were living in the main level, and they actually rented out the basement that has a separate entrance. And they commanded $15,000 a year doing that with a 5-star Airbnb, which is transferable. So that's the type of home that you could buy that's in beautiful condition and have at least half of your house payment paid. We have a beautiful home up on Pinecrest in Woodland Park, very close to the Charis Bible College, priced at $599. This gorgeous home on 4 acres, has a 3-car detached garage, has a barn and a loafing shed, and it's amazing. We have another great house on Spanish Oak Terrace in Pinecrest, right on the golf course. Amazing views, beautiful condition, priced at $749. Another gorgeous home on Christie Court that's absolutely move-in ready at $425. Spectacular home on Big Valley, priced at $725. This home has a detached, awesome, can I say man cave detached garage? Can I say that, Richard? Is that okay?
You can indeed. It's very accurate, I think.
It has, I'm like, I wouldn't be doing this, but it has a professional heater, like a commercial grade heater in it. It has a couple of hoist systems. So for somebody that has that kind of talent, they would love that. And great lot, gorgeous views in beautiful condition. A beautiful home in the Broadmoor, backs to NORAD, in with fresh carpet, great location, very nice home, priced at $684. An amazing home on 4 acres in High Forest Ranch. This home has a main level master over 7,000 square feet, priced at $2.199 million in prestigious High Forest Ranch D20 schools. And then a couple of great lots, one on Arapahoe Drive up in Florissant at 119, another one in Lake George on Hidden Valley, priced at 35. So to find out about all of our coming soon homes, go to barbhasthebuyers.com and check it out. Richard.
You've been listening to Your Real Estate Voice with Barb Schlinker, host of the program and owner broker of Your Home Sold, Guaranteed Realty. And if you are thinking of making a move, call Barb 719-301-3900, or as always, visit barbhasthebuyers.com. That'll do it for this weekend. Talk to you soon, Barb.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Woo!
Oh, we did it. Hopefully I didn't run too terribly long on that segment.
Actually, I lost my clock. I go through all this bother to come up with a new clock that I love, and then I have too many tabs open. All right. Our housing price is going to drop in Colorado. How do home sellers find the best homes in Colorado? Home buyers, I should say. How accurate is Zillow, and